Right, well, I'm Mike Hills, and my colleague here.
I'm Martin Skane. You probably know me better as Port Perrin from the forum, and we've got a special guest for you today, who I'm going to introduce now. So it's over to Kathy Millett. Kathy Millett.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Well, thank you for joining us today, Kathy. It's a little bit of an honour because you've been around quite a bit recently on videos and the Great British Railway Challenge. What worries me, you know, you've got something like 77,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel compared to my 29. So
I'm not sure I'm getting any more views, though. To be honest, I've done quite a mix on YouTube, and I've noticed the last year or so views have just dropped off massively. And I was looking at someone who had a third of the number of subscribers than me, and they were getting as many views on a video. So I don't think it's about your subscriber base. People sign up and then they stay there for decades, but they're not interested anymore in looking at your videos. So look at your view counts. That's far more important.
Yeah, I think it's what they get linked to as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, our first proper question, I think it's an obvious one, but how did you get into modelling, and do you have an artistic background?
So I blame my dad. It's always a good place to start blaming your dad, isn't it? I modelled with my dad as a child. I've still got his Hornby 003 rail up in the loft, not out, but just up there stored. And we used to get it out every Christmas. And for a while, I had the typical 4x8 piece of plywood. You know, my scenery was excellent. A grain of sand was probably my most exciting piece of ground cover. And I had a little bit of green paint and brown stuff on there. It wasn't very, very technical at all. And it didn't last long because before long, school and homework took that desk over. I don't really have an artistic background. I did AS level art and I would have liked to have gone into it, but I don't know, at my age, it wasn't really the thing you did back then. I was very academic. So I went to university, did biology, and then ended up a chartered accountant. I always thought finance was going to be my first career, not my only career. And now I'm actually a full-time content creator, whatever that means.
Well, content creator of what? What sort of content?
Well, anything that will sell, I think, is the short answer at the moment. I have just written a book for Comback, who are the largest US publisher of model railroad, as it would be their content. It's out this month at some point, and you can get it on Amazon, and it's called How to Build Realistic Model Railroad Scenery. It's actually a book they've had in print since 1984, but it's a complete rewrite. I've just checked, I mean, they've actually changed the title slightly as well, but I've started the game from scratch. And it goes through all the basics of scenery, a lot about planning it and making sure you think about it up front, through to the sort of bases, groundwork, rocks, water, grass, bushes, trees, you name it, it's in there. It's about 178 pages long, or maybe nearly 200 now with all the front covers and everything on. So getting it down in size was the biggest challenge. Wrote that, finished it May last year, and it's just been going through the sort of previewing and editing and publishing. It takes quite a long time to get them printed now. And it's been stuck in a ship outside of Port LA, I think, for a good month. But it's due in this week, so hopefully it'll be coming out to people soon. So that's a big thing I did at the beginning. I went full-time almost a couple of years ago on doing this. I went part-time for a bit and then full-time. And I did that. I tried to grow my YouTube channel, and it did all right for the first half, and it hasn't really for the second half. And I never really wanted YouTube to be my main thing that I did. It's just a handy way of having some income coming in. And I've got Patreon and all those things. But at the moment, it's not really covering the bills. So I'm thinking about what plan B is. And there is something coming up, potential full-time job in a creative role, that if that comes, I'll take that. So plan C would be then to look at producing some more digital products or something. Looked at ebooks, but my current one is just so similar to the Calmback book. I'm really struggling to not overlap it. And as that's just coming out and it's a proper book, you know, I don't really want to jinx that. So the ebook's on the shelf at the moment, and I'm doing some 3D print designs instead for now. So the content creation, you try getting insurance for it. It's just not a tick box anywhere. And it's just whatever will sell in the modeling world. I don't sell my actual dioramas. I'm debating whether I should probably do that, but they'd have to be collection only. So it's quite a limited marketplace probably in this country.
Right. I understand you have your own model railway, which I believe is HO scale.
I started to rip it out 2 weeks ago. Can I admit that? So one of the reasons there hasn't been a lot of model railway content, and I get asked this a lot, hasn't been a lot of model railway content on my channel or social media for about a couple of years, is I had 2 railway projects on the go. One I can blame Steve Flint for on, you know, we were at the Great Model Railway Challenge and I wanted to do a model railway that was small and achievable. And I picked Port Norwich in North Wales to do a small sort of 4x3 micro layout. And it sat in the middle of my kitchen floor and I've fallen over it for 3 years because it has moving points, frogs. So all points move. It has moving frogs. And it wasn't running well enough. And it just wasn't good enough. So it stalled because I wasn't happy. And I wasn't willing to throw all that work in the bin, but I wasn't happy. And my New Haven layout up in the loft, a HO one, 12 by 12, triple deck. It's too hot in the summer to go up there and it doesn't have any good angles for YouTube. It's very hard to record up there. So you'd have to have a lot of projects, but I know exactly what the problem is with it. It's just doing more of the same. I like doing new stuff. I like creating new stuff. And I'd done all the new stuff once on there. And every single other thing I had to do was just more of what I'd already done.
Yeah.
And so I was bored, really, apart from buying more stuff. And I've an embarrassment of New Haven locos, which I'm going to have to downsize because I don't have room for them. And it's just embarrassing how much stuff I have. Anyway, I decided 2 weeks ago, I was chatting to friends about it. I decided I was going to rip it out because it was stopping me modelling railways. I had 2 railways on the go. Port Norwich went in the neighbours' skip, they're having building work done over sort of early January, went in the skip. Took off the point, took off the bits I could reuse, skipped the rest. And it felt quite liberating. So having skipped one railway, I think I was on a roll. And I'm now going through, sorting out stock, and I will be getting rid of most of the stock and coming back down to, and I've standardized on a Grange and Hodder sort of laser cut baseboard so that it'll be nice and robust, and it'll probably be 900 by 400 as a standard. So it's more working diorama. So it can get finished in my attention span and within a YouTube sort of audience attention span and within my need to keep doing more models constantly rather than spending a lot of time doing the same thing. So yes.
Opposite extreme to me. I've been working 30 years on the same layout. It's not how I work. And I think knowing myself was the first step to that, just understanding. So I'm actually probably going to do more model railway content when I don't have a big model railway in my loft than I would with one there. Yeah. I think it's something we all go through. We all go through the same things. We get bored and then leave it alone for months and then come back to it.
It got to 3 years being left alone was the trouble. Once I really started doing a YouTube channel, and I was doing something every week, it just didn't have the love on it. So yeah, anyone wants any New Haven stock, I'm the lady to come to. I will have one of whatever you want, guaranteed.
Just a little bit too big for us.
I know. It's all HO. Yeah. I am keeping the small switches and some box cars, otherwise known as small little shunters and wagons. And I'm getting rid of all the passenger. I've got a lot of passenger stock. I'm getting rid of all of that and the big locos. But I've got a couple of really expensive roundhouse kits, so I might just build up the roundhouses. So I might keep the steam locos for now. Yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Just going on for that. Do you have an interest in railways, the real thing, or is it just the model inside?
I will say I don't sit on the end of platforms. As a child, we always went on railways as a sort of holiday thing, stop and go on a railway. I go up to the Severn Valley. I haven't been for a while, obviously, but I'd normally go up once a year because that's my local kind of preserved one. And so I do like railways, but I'm not a train spotter per se, not wanting to label people.
No, I don't think we are really. We've got past that stage.
It might have been when we were
In
8,
short,
9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, but I do like trains, and I used to catch the train to work for years, decades. So I've spent a lot of time on trains, and I still like it as a day out. Let's just go on a train somewhere.
you can live here. You can watch them all day going past the garden.
My first house, you could see the railway from the upstairs bedroom window if you wanted to, and the bed would vibrate at night when the aggregate train went through.
Yeah, I think that's very much where I came from. We had in a terraced house, and it had an attic window which looked out on the marshalling yard, which working 24/7. You know, so you
Yeah,
all night, and it just stays with you.
it does. It's a fascinating hobby because unlike a lot of modelling, it has things that have to work from an engineering point of view as well as from a modelling point of view.
Yeah, I think model railways has got something of everything, from woodwork to electrics, electronics. You know, you name it, it is there.
Yeah,
that's what makes it an interesting hobby, I think.
yeah, certainly a lot of skills you need to learn to get through the whole range of building an entire layout.
Yeah. Yes, and you do learn them as well. It's just not worth doing it. As you come to this situation, if things don't run properly.
I know. It was all hand-laid track on Porch and Norwich, and you know, it's 009 anyway, so it's finicky at best. Yeah.
Well, I mean, 009 is the same as N.
Yeah, the bit that really stalled me was a portable crossing, and I wasn't sure how to do it. What had attracted me is it had standard gauge and narrow gauge. And I didn't realise until I'd already invested quite a bit of time on it. It was actually just 2 pieces of track they picked up and put across the standard gauge when they wanted to run the narrow gauge.
Yeah.
So how do you recreate that in model form? It just, yeah, and I overcomplicated it and it didn't work. And I ran out of oomph.
Right. Well, final one from me is, how do you see your future in modelling? Continuing what you're doing now, or exploring other avenues? I know you've probably half answered it already in what you said.
Yeah, so Port de Norwich is back on the table in its new revised form. So I'll definitely have some railways in there. I'd like to do something like a main seaport, but I don't want to just redo the twee one that everyone else does. So I need to think of a new way, a new angle. I've got a lot of ideas. I like sci-fi. If you look at my channel, the last couple of years, because I've been stalled on railways, there's been an awful lot of just popular, geeky stuff if you're into video games and sci-fi. People call it sci-fi, but, you know, some of it isn't. I've got a lot of Tomb Raider as well on there. And I do love video games. What you find when you do your hobby as a job, suddenly you're working 24/7, 7 days a week. And I burnt out in the middle of last year because I didn't do anything except modelling. And actually, I still really enjoy the modelling, whatever it is. At the moment, I'm soldering lights onto Jurassic Park gates. So it's loads of tea lights that twinkle. So they're all going on. It's taking forever to solder them. So, you know, whatever I'm doing, I enjoy the modelling side. The thing that I haven't enjoyed as much is the sort of video editing and all that kind of thing. I think going forward, I'm going to spend more time on the modelling products rather than on the YouTube and things like that. But I still want to carry on with a large percentage of modelling because I really enjoy it. And that's why I changed career. You know, I could have carried on as a financial contractor earning huge amounts of money compared to what I'm earning now. And the whole thing was about a work-life balance, but also, which I totally lost, but also about just a lifestyle change and chasing those dreams. So I think what I'm going to carry on doing is chasing those dreams, whether it's in a new full-time role or whether it's working out what does make enough money to live on in my current content creation type of job. You know, I write articles for people. I've written a book. I've spent a lot of time on videos. It's just, there's so much variety in there. It's about working out which one's actually the one to be a solid career going forward.
Yeah, and not overdo it as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, having burnt out once, I spent most of Christmas playing Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game, and I played Halo just before Christmas. So I've been playing a lot of video games, and I was almost forcing myself to sit down at a weekend and play a game rather than modelling. This year I've got some personal modelling projects. One's actually a cosplay, so it's like full-size modelling. It's a helmet and outfit from Titanfall, which none of you will ever have played or even have heard of, but is certainly my favourite game. And I'm just looking at how I keep the balance and keep going, especially when my current work, Jurassic Park, was all over my workbench, so I didn't even look at it this weekend. I spent most of the time trying to get Blender to work instead. I've just got a lot of balls I juggle, and it's working out which ball's actually going to juggle me some cash and not ruin the enjoyment of the hobby, which I still love modelling. I mean, I really love sitting down and modelling.
Yes, I think we're lucky, really. We're both retired, so
a few more years on that front and a little bit more earning first.
Yes.